Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Interesting Modelling Company Midweek Live. And we're back on a Wednesday. Hurrah. And it's light outside. Hurrah.
Hurrah.
And there's football on the radio later. Hurrah.
And people are mowing their lawns. So if anybody can hear anything outside, I was going to shut my window and shut it out. But you know what? It's the first time I've heard lawn mowers for 6 months. So if I can listen to them and enjoy them, so can everybody else.
It's the sound of summer.
It is. It is the sound of almost freedom.
Almost freedom, but...
Almost freedom. So, yes, you can hear probably kiddies in the gardens laughing and running around and people mowing their lawns and the birds chirping and cheeping and all that sort of stuff. And frankly, it's making me very happy. So,
excellent. That's what we want. That's what we want. So, how have you been, Mr. P? And bear in mind, please be very careful with your answer, just in case your MacBook decides to suddenly go, I've had enough of this.
Yes. How have I been? I've been okay, actually. Yes, my MacBook does seem to be relatively fractious at the moment. I'm not quite sure what it is. I've turned all the Bluetooth off and all of that kind of nonsense and everything. And my Alexa is still plugged in. So I'm going to step over. I'm going to pull the plug on that as well, in case that's draining. So give me 2 seconds and I'll see if that's happening.
Well, we might do a live unboxing tonight because I've had a box turn up, and how exciting! So we might just do that this evening. It's going to be nothing. Honestly, it's nothing exciting. It's just the coda to a story that I told yesterday, and hopefully it will be the happy conclusion to a story I started yesterday. So, sorry, I'm just cropping pictures here because we weren't quite ready for the show tonight. I hope you're all well, everybody. We'll do a name check in a minute and trust you are all well. It has been a week of contrast. It started off kind of a little bit on the chilly side, and then suddenly it's all gone a bit warmer. It's suddenly gone a bit Mediterranean out there, as you can tell by the fact that I'm not wearing my Scott of the Antarctic snow cap, which I was wearing at the weekend. So yeah, we are. I don't know where he's gone. I thought he'd gone to turn off his Alexa, not build one. Well, while he's gone, we'll do an unboxing. How exciting! I think you can all guess what this is, and I'm hoping this is the solution to my problem that I discovered yesterday when I was just about to complete a project and discovered I had a bit of a problem. So that's all good.
Yeah, hopefully it's kind of a similar problem to what I had the other night, really. And again, I'm not entirely sure what this is. In that you keep doing a matrix. I'm looking at myself now, and everything's flowing okay. You keep stopping and then coming back in. It's a bit like watching
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom. And
You're fine.
I can't quite work out what that is.
Yeah, picture quality here is absolutely fine. There are no issues whatsoever. So yes, as you can tell, everybody, it's a display case.
Yeah, it's all a little bit disconcerting, I have to say. So
we're fine. We're fine. It might be at your end. I mean, everybody, if you're watching and there are communications problems, do let us know. But anyway, now hopefully this a tractor, it fits on there like so, and now yeah, okay, we seem to have gone from the sublime to ridiculous now. I now have a extraordinary tall
that looks cool, eh?
It'll do.
Just raise the base up.
No, I can't. It locks in there. I suppose I could put Stacey. I suppose I could put like a bit of foam in there and do it up that way. What I could really do with actually there is like a tree in the corner.
Yeah, do that.
Just to take the height up. Actually, would you believe I've actually got a mock orange tree outside because I'm that vain. I go out and buy plants named after myself, and there are a few branches on there that just need pruning at the moment. So that would actually make a rather nice little. We'll have a think about that. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. There we go, like Christmas Day here. We got a couple of kits we're going to talk about tonight. I think before we start, we can talk about projects. What have you been working on this week?
Absolutely nothing.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Well, that's
it literally is as simple and straightforward as that. Absolutely nothing. Since Sunday, I've taken the most of the weather, because obviously we had good weather, and 6 months of not doing anything around the place outside, it all went horribly wrong. So I've been out in the garden and doing jobs and bits and pieces. So I'm hoping at some point to get back to the workbench.
Well, you have been finishing your book off as well, haven't you? Your stuff.
I have done some. Yes, I did do some on the book yesterday. I worked on that for an hour. Got up early and worked on that. So I've done that. But beyond that, I haven't done anything. Although I did show some photographs of that Pucará that's arrived from the guys at Jadlam,
yes,
which is due to cross my bench at some point. And I have to say that is a really impressive kit. It's one of those. It took us by surprise when we first saw it. We saw some photographs of it, didn't we? A couple of 3 months ago, and now that it's arrived. And one of the things that is surprising about it is how straightforward and simple it is. There's very little to it. It says that the box says it's got 260 parts in it, and I'm sure there are 260 parts. But it's one of those things where when you open the box and you go, well,
yeah,
where's that then? See, I've disappeared now.
No, you're still here. You're fine. Don't worry.
I'm finding this extremely disconcerting.
Don't worry. I will. If there's a problem, I'll let you know. At the moment, everything's fine. I think it's connectivity issues at your end. At the studio end here, everything's fine. Just relax.
This should be perhaps more of a conversation without the screen, because I am finding it really disconcerting, because everything keeps freezing, and I don't even know if I'm talking to myself or someone else at the minute.
Nobody's picking up on a problem here, so we'll we're fine. We're absolutely fine.
There doesn't seem a lot in it. It's essentially a basic airframe, and there are a few bits and pieces hang under the wings, tanks, that kind of thing. Cockpit looks pretty straightforward. But what's impressive about it is the detail. The levels of detail on it are really nice. It's beautifully molded, and the surface detail on it is superb. I'm really looking forward to having a crack at it. I've already decided I'm going to do the Argentinian one, obviously, because doing a Pucará in anybody else's colours seems a little bit odd, really, especially as we've got one in Cosford, which is only 10 miles up the road. So I'm hoping to be able to get up there at some point. Obviously, everything's still closed down for now, but hopefully we'll be able to sort of get there soon and have a look at it. The one thing that is causing me a little bit of concern is that the Pucará has its main undercarriage legs and its nose gear about 6 inches apart, tucked under the front end of the airplane, and the tail just juts out massively over the back. So I went online and bought a load of fishing weights. I've run out of my lead water that I normally use, which I've had for ages and ages and ages.
There we go. Well, we'll scroll through the pics very quickly. Like I say, this was sent to us by our friends in Jadlam, just down the road from here in Somerset. Very basic decal sheet. In fact, I have heard that some of the lettering is slightly the wrong style of American kind of style, but it's it's marginal. But clear parts, look exceptionally clear. A little bit of photo etch sheet there. Fuselage and tail planes.
Very traditionally broken down.
They haven't got any excuse me, they haven't gone for any open panels on this, thankfully. So that's
not at all, no.
That's a bit of a godsend. And as you say, surface detail looks to be superb. It
is. It really is sensational. And like I say, I sort of looked at this thing and I thought that's a 3-4 day build. That's not a lot to it. Once you've got the cockpit in, the airframe comes together really quickly. So it's certainly something that I think will be interesting to have a go at. You can see smaller parts here. One of those sprues, the one on the left hand side, is repeated in the kit. And you can get kind of offers other things, so you can kind of see those in there. So if you imagine you've got two sets of those parts,
I think that's where your parts count starts going up with these screws,
yeah,
quite frankly.
Yeah, but again, it's just things in halves. Everything can be assembled pretty straightforward. I would imagine this would be one of those nice models that you could sort of sit there, listen to the football on a Saturday afternoon, glue everything together, and you'd be sort of ready to go. You'd have a big pile of sub-assemblies, some of which you could paint, bring it all together, airbrush it, put the decals on and everything. And as far as the stickers are concerned, there's very few of them. So you'd also almost as well, you'd be able to get away with on a model like this on just glossing the areas where the decals are. You don't even need to gloss the whole thing, which I would absolutely, I think, do on this. But you can sort of see there the wings, how they all go together. Large centerline drop tank there. Cockpits are obviously traditionally in one piece. Multi-part ejection seats, which are good. Yeah, it's really very nice. I do like it a lot, and it's an attractive aeroplane in its own way.
Yes-ish. Yeah.
You know, I don't think it looks that attractive on the ground because of those.
No, it's very ungainly.
But in the air, with everything kind of tucked up, I think it does look really, really kind of cool. Not a lot of options in terms of weaponry on these things. I'm assuming that they're cleared to carry quite a lot, but I couldn't find a lot of photographs of machines with huge variations in underwing stores. The odd bomb here and there, and rocket pods and that kind of thing. So there's not a huge amount. And it's sort of oddly doesn't, you know, it's odd that such a large aircraft has so few pylons. That was one of the things that I noticed about this. You know, there are other aircraft that attack aircraft, smaller ones that have much more in the way of racking to have stores on it.
We can point to the Cessna A37 Dragonfly.
Yeah, absolutely.
An aeroplane that is actually smaller in length and wingspan than a Spitfire.
Yeah, and look how much nonsense
it's like a mini A10, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And in actual fact, the Pucará is a similar size to an A10. It's a
big old thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and there were some variations. I found came across another one with different engines, which I thought was quite cool. And didn't we discuss as well the extraordinarily ugly single seater? Which we
did discuss the extraordinarily ugly single seater, and we do not wish to discuss the extraordinarily.
I think the single seater needs to be given a whenever you show photographs of it to anybody, you ought to have a warning before
parental guidance. Yeah, parental warning.
This program may contain scenes that some viewers find upsetting. That would definitely be something.
If you have been affected by the issues from seeing this photograph of a single-seat Pucará, then please call this number.
And I have to say, somebody that there ought to have been a warning the other day. I noticed on Twitter somebody posted a couple of photographs of the two-seat Wyvern, which had a similar effect on me. Really, I was just like, oh.
Somebody sent me a photograph of. It was a project at the British Motor Company in the 1960s to do a 4-door version of the basic BMC Mini.
Oh, really?
They actually they didn't increase the size of it. They just put 2 extra doors at the back. Doesn't look right. Doesn't look right at all. I'm sorry.
I have to say that Minis with more than 2 doors into the cabin are wrong, and then they're just not Minis, are they? Minis should have 3 doors.
I'm afraid that these days, you know, obviously I'm a stinking great big hypocrite now that I am technically a BMW driver, but I'm afraid the Mini Travelers and the Mini Countrymans, these kind of like 4-wheel drive big versions of a Mini, it's like that's a bit like having a Spitfire with 4 engines. It's like you've lost the
Well,
plot there a bit, haven't you? You know.
I mean, come on, the Countryman's not a Mini. The whole point of it being called a Mini is it was Mini.
Yeah.
That's just. I mean,
Anyway.
at least the little minis like you've got. My son's got just bought himself a Mini, and they are still small, aren't they? They're still compact. They're a bit bigger than your little Cooper.
Yeah, but
they're still quite compact little things. But when you start adding extra doors and then raising the roof by about 4 foot, it's no longer a Mini.
It's no longer a Mini. No longer a Mini.
No longer a Mini. So
sorry, Pucarás.
Pucarás.
Yes, thank you to Jadlan for sending that. So you're a busy bunny at the moment because you've got that to build. You've got your Japanese F4s to build. Get on with it, man. Get on with it. Look, some of us have finished some models. Look.
Indeed.
I do love this. I absolutely adore this. And do you know what? I pretty much did use the fantastic box art as reference for weathering this, because the box artist did such a nice job of kind of suggesting mud and dirt and everything that I just went, yeah, we'll go with that. I absolutely adore this kit. There are a few areas that cause me a couple of problems, least not that big, great exhaust collides with the rear lights. There is no way of, I can't see that there is a way of getting the two together, which is rather odd. But hey ho, we kind of came up with a kind of fix on that. But other than that, you may have noticed also on this one that I decided that I would have a replacement mudguarding green that had been scavenged off of another vehicle. Likewise, the wheels. We've got a 4-spoke wheel and a 2-spoke wheel because Nubbins here got it all wrong. But other than that, it's just a fabulous little kit. I really just had a whale of a time with this, and yeah, relatively short kind of finishing time on it. I've refined everything down a bit more. I have discovered from my Panzer Aces acrylics here that they did a color called light mud, which is beautiful. It's just that kind of perfect light gray tan color, and when you're using acrylics for doing all the kind of the splashes and the speckles, once they've dried after about 5 minutes, you can then start slapping oil washes on top of them because they ain't going to move. Absolutely fabulous kit. I've now got the display case for it, so that should hopefully be delivered to its recipient tomorrow. But yeah, I'm really quite sad that project's over because I was having far too much fun.
So really. I assume that you're going to be really sad to see it go as well. Hand it over.
No, not really, because it's one less model for me to look after.
And none of us like looking after models, do we?
None of us like looking after models. No, not at all. So, yeah, all done, all sorted. So, let's have a name check, shall we? Let's plow through tonight's people have decided not to watch Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO streaming, but have decided to watch these two antiquated behemoths sparring with each other. I did use that as the tagline for one of the posts today. I know, I thought it was very clever, actually. So we say hello to Douglas Hunter, Mark Ryan, Mike Reeves, John Patrick Huston, Greg Woodbridge, Dougal McWoogle, Paul Milligan, Ian Rusco, Dave Fleming, Rob Herring, Pavel Krupovich, Steve Moores, Dave Swindle, Darren McGuinness, Andy Brennan, Brian Wilton, Grant Maybury, Colin Strachan, Stephen Pryor, Jerry Doyle, Tim Maunder, Juan Francisco Molinido, David Mummery, Douglas, I think I said Douglas Hunter already, but hello to both of you. Mark Ewan, Johan Olivier, named after the actor, not Oliver, the play. Wayne A. Beatty, Paul Bennett, Tony Bork, Zulu 417. Okay. Mike Reeves. Hello, Mr. Reeves. I think we are coming towards the end of the people watching tonight. Dave Coward, good evening, Dave. Yep, so we're up to speed with everybody, and nobody's complaining about the image quality, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. So
just the link between us. That must be kind of what it is. If nobody's noticed any problems with either
No.
of us, and it's only me noticing the connection with you, then there must be something to do with the link rather than the
it's
interwebs.
probably I think it's the stream. I think it's the having said that, though, I'm just going over to my I'm just shutting down other Macs here that I still have on. So there we go. So let's talk about some more. We've got some more kits to talk about, some other stuff that's popped up recently. And this is the intriguing Border Models 1/35th scale Messerschmitt 109 G6. Now, that's, we've discussed this before, but Border have actually now put up some images of actual plastic parts as opposed to the CAD renders. So we can actually see the quality of the plastic, and it has to be said, our favorite phrase on this show, it does look pretty good, doesn't it? It
does. It does, yeah. We were going to look at this on Sunday, and we sort of chatted a little bit about it off air. Quality of the plastic looks really nice on this kit, and also because of the way that it seems to have been produced as well, it opens up possibilities above and beyond its kind of normal scale. There's an engine in it, for instance, so that opens up possibilities for dioramas based around crew working on and preparing the aircraft. But also, away from all of that shot there, the surface detail on this looks great, and as good as anything I've seen elsewhere. It has a look of a Dragon aircraft kit, I think, certainly from what I can see, and certainly having sort of seen. Having seen just the images, it's difficult to see whether or not the surface detail is fine and delicate, because digital images do boost things beyond the way that they look.
Especially when you start playing with the controls to kind of like
absolutely, there could be all sorts. Yeah, there could be all sorts of things. But certainly, from what we've seen, this looks to be a fairly complex little kit, doesn't it? And I, for one, I'm really looking forward to the possibility of getting one of these. I would really like to build a diorama around all of this. I did mention to you, I do fancy doing a downed one. I think that would be kind of cool.
Wouldn't it be just one of the deepest ironies that this kit turns up and suddenly it's hailed by all the 109 experts as being possibly one of the best, most accurate 109 kits ever made, and then all the aircraft modelers are there stamping their feet saying it's the wrong scale?
Do you know what? I genuinely hope that happens. I genuinely hope they've nailed it, because that kind of would be funny. Yeah, Mike Williams has just said, one of you has a blackbird singing away. I can hear it loud and clear. Yeah, it's me, Mike. It's out in the garden at the moment. I've got my window open. So if you're wondering where that blackbird's coming, it's coming from the tree in my garden currently.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of night.
Indeed, yes. And I like it so much, and I like the sound of summer so much. I'm leaving the window open. So
it's always to me, the sound once you actually start hearing blackbirds singing, that is to me the sound of early evenings and kind of like spring on its way. And it's always, summer, and it's kind of like it's uplifting. It's a bit like when you get to the end of summer, and suddenly all the other songbirds start departing, and then you just suddenly start hearing that wheezy, dissonant kind of whistle of a robin, and it's like he's telling you cold weather's on its way. Anyway, that's enough spring watch tonight.
Well, the thing about that is cold weather is on its way, because we're forecast snow at the start of next week.
Excellent. Right. Okay.
Which is great. Interesting. I don't know what the situation is with the figures that are in this shot, whether they're included in the kit. And
yes, I think the pilot is. I don't know about the standing figure, but
do we know whether they're resin or whether they're plastic or what? Because if they're plastic, they're extraordinary.
That's a very good point. Fill in, mate, while I go and have a look.
So what do we? I mean, the detail of these two figures looks really quite extraordinary from the pictures that we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm imagining that these will be resin rather than
I'm
plastic.
guessing they would
I'm
be.
not. Yeah, yeah.
I've got
I
some
don't.
CAD. Oops, Daisy. Oh, you still there?
Yeah, still here.
It's all right. That's all right. It was just the. I suddenly clicked on the. I clicked on it on one of the external screens, and Border have got some more CAD renders up, but they're not saying whether it's resin or not. I would imagine. I would imagine it's going to be. I'd stick my neck out and say it probably is, but
Yeah.
in fact, we're just going to go. We're just going to be trying to be very clever here. Border have actually put some more images up. So if I just share the screen for a second, and a memento per favor. Can we all see that?
I can still see the two pictures of the figures at the moment.
Yeah,
Still.
hang about. It's all bingo. There we go. There we go.
So that's the engine.
Yeah, this is all painted up and everything. They're building one. Machine guns and painted cockpit there, and
it does look good, doesn't it?
It does look very, very nice. Even the Blackbird agrees. Yeah, I'm liking the look of this.
Yeah, me too. The Blackbird has just suggested that he might get one actually, and
well, probably put us all to shame and build it quicker than we can. Oh, there you go. Look, that almost looks like that's your workbench there. everything built in sub assemblies.
In sub assemblies, yeah.
Separate flaps and leading edge slats, which is rather nice. But no, that's they haven't elaborated yet on what the figure is. But
no,
but yeah, it does look good.
Yeah, it does look good, and they do seem to be quite a progressive company. Border. We got quite excited about the Crusader, didn't we? About the idea of
yeah, you reminded me. Yes, the Crusader.
Getting hold of the Crusader, and so that's a possibility as well. Although intriguingly, and obviously I'm only going by sort of third party. There was discussion about the Border Crusader and the comparison with it and the old Italeri kit. And a number of people suggested that it didn't look like it was that much more detailed than the original Italeri kit, which would make an interesting comparison, although it does have individual link tracks and that kind of thing.
I might dispute that.
Yeah, I would imagine there would be some kind of leaps up, although the Italeri Crusader is still very nice. And they didn't really miss a lot out. But it'd be interesting to see how those kits look when we have them.
Border are on my list this year of manufacturers that I want to get something so that it can be built and kind of discussed on the Facebook page and on the show. I was just thinking, isn't that again delicious irony that Border, one of their first armor kits was a Crusader in 35th. But they're doing 35th scale aircraft, whereas one of Airfix's first armor kits was a Crusader. But they did it in 32nd scale. It's kind of like, you see what I mean? There's a weird kind of symmetry going on there. Did Airfix chose the wrong scale for their Crusader? Have Border chosen the wrong scale for their 109? Clearly they haven't, because they want to integrate it into their armor range.
Yes.
But we're back to that thing that we spoke about before, which is, are there enough armor modelers wanting to build aircraft, or are there enough aircraft modelers wanting to build something in an armor scale? There's two here. Who definitely want to build one. But
well, I mean, I've never been. I think it's one of those, isn't it? I've never been particularly precious about the scale of anything I've built. I don't.
It's a model.
Yes, to me, I don't display a collection of 32nd scale aircraft side by side. I don't display a collection of 72nd scale. In fact, in my display cases, all my models are all different scales in there. Yeah. So the idea of kind of scales. So would it put me off, as a 32nd scale model, would it put me off building something in 35th? Absolutely not.
No,
because that would preclude either of us suddenly saying, well, we build 32nd scale aircraft, therefore we're not going to build a 35th scale helicopter.
Exactly. I'm a bit like you, as I just like to jump around subjects all the time. I don't have a themed collection. So
No,
I think the
not much.
only people for whom this may be a issue will be people who like to have theme collections, and they're going, but it's not 32nd scale, it's 35th scale.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I mean, it's as I say, I look at it purely as a model project, and in terms of that, I'm 35th scale. I'll give it a go. I want to see what the kit is like and how it turns out, and and kind of go from there, really. But I think
It is an odd thing, and collections are something we've never discussed really on this program. Modelers, obviously, part of being a model maker is having a collection of Spitfires, collection of Messerschmitt 109s, whatever, having a constant scale collection. But in all of my time of building models, I know I built a lot of Luftwaffe, I built a lot of American Air Force, built a lot of RAF stuff. I've never consciously thought I'm going to build a collection of particular subjects. Not once in an entire 45 years of building models have I ever thought that. To me, it's is that cool?
Apart from your Verlinden collection,
but even then, they're quite disparate subjects, aren't they? Really, and frankly, Andy Farmer has a lot to answer for in
it's always Andy's fault.
That particularly, yes.
But Mike Williams says scale wouldn't bother me. I build all scales. Kits are kits. Exactly, Mike. Exactly. That's the kind of progressive attitude I like.
yes. And now we're going to get all the. Well, actually, I think you're right. But it is kind of like that. I know if you're, for instance, we see some fantastic collections, don't we? When you go to national championships, the collection of United States Air Force aircraft, all 72nd scale on the tables and everything. You wouldn't want something in there that was a different scale from everything else. So I get that there has to be kind of consistency in that. But certainly from me, the driver from my work has always been, do I like the subject? Do I like the original, if that's the case? And if so, do I want to build the kit? That's kind of it. Or am I being paid for it? That's another driver. That's the thing. Because I've built a million things that I've hated every single aspect of, including the original. But as choices that we make personally, I mean, heaven's sake, you've got the most disparate collection of models over the last 12 months of any of us.
Do you know what? And that's where my enthusiasm has absolutely gone back through the roof again. Because if I'm building for me and I kind of start building things that are a bit samey and you just kind of, you get into you just fall into a rut. Whereas, I'm after building that tractor, I think the next thing is, it's that Eschi Skoda tank. So I should be diving into that. I've still got 2 more of these to build. I've got the Zvezda T-34 and a Zvezda Jagdpanther. On the Zvezda Jagdpanther, stand by for this. On the Zvezda Jagdpanther, I am going to do the camouflage on that. I'm going to use these SMS paints that I've got, but I'm going to paint that with a Badger 200.
A single action.
Going to do the camo with a Badger 200. It can be done because that's how I started off with airbrushes. So we're going to do that.
I airbrushes. There's interesting conversation. An airbrush, Badger 200s, Aztec airbrushes.
It's a contradiction in terms to start with.
Earlier on this week, and if you go onto my Facebook page, Sir Jonathan of Mock, you will find some photographs. I posted some photographs of a diorama that I built.
Yes, you did.
In 1998.
1998. What a year of cinema that was.
What a year. So you're more than welcome to share those images. That diorama, all of the models on that diorama were painted with an Aztec because I didn't own any other airbrush at that point.
Good Lord.
But the other thing that was interesting about that post, well, interesting to me, because I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, is that I built a diorama, which I'm hoping that John will be able to put up. Ding,
Here we go.
There, that diorama there. And in the middle of that diorama, apart from anything else, that backdrop that you see there with the snow on the roofs of the houses, that backdrop I used for at least one of the dioramas that I built last year, the Linden dioramas. So it gives you an idea of how long I've had that backdrop. So 23 years ago or whatever, I built this model. This is Maquette's T34-76, a terrible kit, absolutely terrible kit. And it was sent in to me by whomever it was that was bringing Maquette kits in. And they said, oh, can you build this for review? Well, you can kind of see what I did with this kit because it's kind of got replacement road wheels. It's got all sorts of things on there. It's got very early Edward etched brass for all of the vent screens. It's got a tank workshop turret, I think, if I remember rightly. It might have Chesapeake wheels. It's got replacement, absolutely everything. So essentially, it's completely rebuilt. The only things I used were like the main hull, and I think I used the tracks, and that might be it.
I love the words here. Being poorly detailed and plagued by some of the worst cast. That's it. Poorly detailed and plagued by some of the worst cast could be kind of any ITV drama production in the last 25 years. But
yeah, the turret was terrible, and so I replaced it. It's got scratch built roof. I added all of them. I added all of the milliput. It's got well beads and everything all around it. It's a full rebuild.
Proper modelling then.
Proper modelling, and one of probably in my career, it's probably one of the most involved armor builds that I've ever done for a magazine, because there was so many things I changed on it. The strange thing about this is I literally have no recollection of this diorama at all. I have no recollection of building the diorama. I have no recollection of building the model. I have no recollection of what happened to the model, and I have no recollection of photographing it or getting rid of it or anything. This diorama, bearing in mind it's a very involved build, has fallen through the cracks somewhere in my modeling career. I would love to know what happened to it, whether I gave it away, whether I sold it. I don't know. I was going through it should be, without sort of going into too many personal details, I was going through a really bad time at that point in the, sort of the late 90s leading into the early sort of the turn of the century. So there was a lot going on back then. So it is possible that the reason I don't remember it is because I was dealing with other things while I was building this. But I do wonder why I don't remember building this. And the frustrating thing for me is that over the years, I've got rid of a lot of models. I don't think I own a model. There isn't one in this house that is older than 2000. There's the oldest model I own, which is oldest cluster models I own, are a couple of figures. I don't own a single aircraft model. I don't own a single armor model that's older than about 2005. I think everything else has either been given away, broken up, trashed. But this one is frustrating because it would fit perfectly in with my Linden collection. It would visually, it looks very similar, and it kind of, I think, as a discussion point, I think what's interesting about this is it obviously shows, this diorama shows that what I did last year with the Legacy collection, all I was doing was just turning the clock back to 1998, because this is essentially painted in an identical manner to the stuff I built last year.
Well, there was an interesting, I just scroll back. Where was it? Bear with me, people. I'm just whizzing through the images here. Yes, it's it says here, the skin tones were painted using oils over an airbrush base coat of Aeromaster Sandgelb, a pinky sand tone. Which, if we got time tonight, we might talk a bit more about figure painting, because I tried doing some painting with acrylics over the weekend.
Yes,
I went back to airbrushing and acrylic using oils.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion I might have to do that as well. But yes, so it was. I just thought it was an intriguing thing to post up there. Tomorrow, I've got some photographs from the same magazine to show that I actually built a vac form for the same issue, which also gives an idea of what the workload was like back then, because I built a 48 scale vac form for that issue and that diorama in 1 month. And I think at that point that might also be part of it. I was building at least 2 models like that every month.
Sausage machine
through that period. And I think that's part of it. I think, you're not really, there's no emotional kind of connection to any of these things. But somebody said to me, oh, you should just build another one. You should use that as reference to build one now. Build another T-34-76 with that and do that diorama. And I was sort of sitting there thinking, I'm going to legacy myself. I'm now building legacy models of my own models. I've now become that old that I can now start to build.
You are your own
already. I'm my own.
You are your own tribute band. Yes, I was just going to say
Yes, I've become Spencer Pollard tribute act.
He's not as good as the original.
He's not. Yeah. What happened to him then? He was all right back in the day, and now
it's like that story about Charlie Chaplin coming third in the Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest.
Yeah, that would be it. I would put that diorama up, and somebody would go, "Oh, I remember seeing that in 1998, mate. Not anywhere near as good as it was back then." And so I kind of like the idea of doing that. And you might remember when we had our challenge, our T-34-76 challenge, I didn't actually build a T-34-76, did I? I built a recovery vehicle, and I used the turret, which incidentally is in an identical color scheme to the one that's in that diorama.
Talking of challenges, we will at some stage get round to our next challenge. You'll just have to bear with us, folks, because we have we've got other projects that we have to get on with, and when people are very kind and gracious enough to send us things, you do have to get on with them. You can't just kind of like push them to the side and think, I'm bored with that, I'll build something else now. We have to get on. So
indeed, yeah. But we have a number of things to do, don't we? Challenge.
Well, I think we've got the Walker Bulldog is probably going to be the next challenge. I like the idea of the mini challenge. That sounds quite good. We are going to do we've got the ships to do, but they're not going to be challenges. They're going to be kind of like concurrent builds.
Yeah, we decided against that, didn't we?
It doesn't work that way.
I have to say, yeah, the Walker Bulldog should be the next one.
It will be the next one because I've already made the poster. So, and also happy 50th birthday to the Tamiya Panzer II Aus F, because it's 50 this year. 50 this year.
Yeah.
Pretty much the kit that launched this channel, really, because I think we all last year at the beginning of lockdown, we all grabbed one and thought, oh, let's build one, and it's amazing how many people in that time, and it's just one of those kind of zeitgeist things that everybody suddenly does the same. It kind of people kind of latch onto these kits because they are classics, not because of anything we've done. But it's amazing in the last year how many of those little Panzer IIs I've seen built, and people just going, "Yeah, I just built it. It was just built it for fun."
I built another one in a heartbeat.
I would. Construction on that. What's that? An evening?
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Tamiya SAS Jeeps, Tamiya SAS Pink Panther Land Rovers. I've seen a number of Walker Bulldogs being built at the moment because people have just gone, do you know what? It's a cheap kit. There's a few parts. I'm just going to slap together. Of course, you get the people who turn up and say, oh, I want to build the AFE Club kit. That's not the point. People just want to, they don't want to have a gourmet meal. They just want to pig out on, frankly, burgers and Pringles. And and it's great that you're seeing this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Not movement, but just people just building things for the sheer pleasure of building something without worrying about shape, detail, or anything. It's just.
I have to say, I think that Walker Bulldog is. Don't think we're going to do it because we don't really have a lot of time at the moment. But I think that Walker Bulldog would be the perfect weekend challenge. Saturday morning to Sunday night, because that thing's only got about 8 parts as well.
Well, I think at some stage that's probably what we will do. Rather than doing it as a 10-day challenge, we'll set it as a weekend challenge.
Yeah, and start it at 9 o'clock Saturday morning, and then finish it at 6 o'clock, or for our Sunday show at 7:30 or whatever.
Yes, ish. Yeah.
I think they're certainly possible, but I'm with you on that Panzer II. It is amazing how many people we've seen put one together and just go, yeah, I loved it. It's great. It's not a kit that the aficionados are going to revel in building. It's not that kind of project at all. But if you just want something to bash out and paint and just love, I genuinely loved it. I thought it was great.
I did.
And once it was, once it was finised, I kind of was like, that's really nice. I thought the same about that SAS Jeep as well. SAS Jeep's brilliant little kit to put together, just loads of fun, and is one of those that just kind of shows really. The Masahiro Doya, a Japanese guy, he's putting loads of those together at the moment, and they're just brilliant.
Mike Williams says I did that on the Tamiya Chieftain last year. It's just
I had loads of fun with that kit.
Don't get hung up on detail and accuracy. Just glue something together and paint it and enjoy it.
Well, because one of the figure painters, Jin Won, I think it might have been, painted one of the original American GIs that came in one of the sort of mid-70s sets, and he replaced the head with a Hornet head, but he painted everything else was the same. He didn't change anything, and he's one of the world's best figure painters, and he painted it in his style, and you were like going, that figure's nearly as old as I am, and look what he's done with it. It just looks, and obviously it got a new head, but everything else is the same, and I just thought that just looks brilliant.
Do you know what? Funny enough, this afternoon I kept looking at that because I had to kind of like speed paint that figure for this little vignette for this tractor, and I tried doing it in acrylics, and I tried doing the shading in acrylics, and I was just like, I can't get a handle on it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I still can't get a handle on it. So it was just like, no, let's just go back to enamels. Anyway, I hate the hands on it. The hands, for some reason, one of the hands is actually smaller than the other hand, you see. But where the seams go across it, and I've tried, because Roy Sutherland is always hot on this. He always looks straight for the hands, and Roy can resculpt hands. I can't, you see. And I tried doing my best with it, and every time I look at that figure, I just think it honestly looks like he's got frostbite. Which, being a Soviet tractor farmer out in the Urals, quite possibly. I came up with a solution. I know what I'm going to do, which is a solution. I'm not going to cover the hands with mud. I'm going to cover them with Tamiya 2-part epoxy putty, and I'm going to fashion a rag that he's cleaning his hands with.
Good idea. There you go.
Because it fits in with the idea of the vignette that he's there and he's probably done some maintenance work on the tractor. What I might include with that is I've got the Italy tool field workshop thing, so it might be like a can of oil or something, or whatever. But that'll be it, and it'll just be kind of like, his hands will be completely covered by a epoxy putty rag. That's that problem solved.
Well, on along similar lines to all of this nonsense about figure painting with acrylics and stuff like that, I've actually bought myself something else.
Oh, lordy!
And I've bought myself a wet palette.
Yes.
Which I've been watching a lot of videos recently on figure painting, and we talked about this. I think it might have been last week. Not just on military figure painting, but a lot of stuff on fantasy and Games Workshop and Warhammer and all of that kind of thing. And you get so many great ideas from that. And one of the things that came out of that was buy a wet palette. Use a wet palette with acrylics, and then you're kind of mixing sort of colors into each other, and the paint's not going to dry out and all of that sort of stuff. Only cost a few quid. I bought it off I bought it off Amazon, and I got some refills with it as well. Right. And I just thought, if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to try and learn it properly and do it properly. So now I've got all the paints, I've got the brushes, I've got the thinners. I bought some of that. I saw the Vallejo medium as well that allows everything to kind of flow. And I've got a keep wet palette, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks I'm going to be able to get on with some figures. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive in and do a bust and do something a big decent scale figure rather than mess about. And I've talked to you about this before. I hate the idea of wasting my time on experimenting on something that's not going to be finished. Paint mules and stuff. I don't really have anything like that. And so what I'm going to do is I've got a bunch of figures lying around. So I'll pick up a bust and I'm going to paint it in anger. In essence, see how it goes. But I think I'm going to try that spraying it black and then spraying it with white. I will. Over the top.
You've reminded me. I will pop in the post to you tomorrow. I'll pop the Calvin Tan DVD on him painting this US Army tanker. It's like I said, it's about 4 hours long. It's 2 discs, but it is literally watching him paint it in real time.
Yeah.
He also uses a wet palette in that, and that's how I managed to make my own wet palette, which is quite literally a plastic tray from some little cooked chicken for derp.
For the Dirtmeister.
The old Dirtmeister. A bit of sponge, just a sponge packing sheet. A bit of kitchen towel on top of that, and then a sheet of wax paper, not greaseproof paper, wax paper. There's a slight difference between them.
Yeah.
That's all he does on his. I would like to get a proper wet palette, and I am hoping, fingers crossed, that when I can actually get back to Frome at some stage, because there's a few things I want to get in the shop there. There's a very fine art shop in the precinct there. So I'm hoping, rather than me shoveling money out towards Jeff Dudar, your Amazon fella,
the Bezos.
I'd rather keep it local. Talking of Amazon, I did actually start using my budget paintbrushes.
Oh, you got them?
Yeah.
Did you like them?
They're actually very good. I think there was one of the triple O's didn't want to keep its shape, and it just kept fraying out. And it was like, okay, we'll take, I'll accept a fair amount of attrition. But the other ones, again, if I was doing this as a blind test, I think that these brushes were 10 times more than I paid for them.
I have to say, those triple O's, they are tricky little bleeders, aren't they? They can't behave themselves. You can't rely on a triple O.
No,
but fine. The triple O, double O's, all right. Triple O's. You can't.
Well, that was it. I found myself that I was actually doing a lot of detail painting and blending on that figure, not with a triple O, but with an O, because it kept its point better.
Yes.
So, but these, I'm really impressed with these. So they got used in anger, and they didn't disappoint. So.
Mike Williams has asked what a wet palette is, so it's probably a good idea to explain that, isn't it? Basically, this is a wet palette. They come in all sorts of sizes. I didn't really expect this one to be as big as it is. This is quite a sizable one. Normally, they're quite small. And essentially what they are plastic trays. This is like a vac formed plastic tray. They have very nice polystyrene, actually, I have to say. And I'm thinking that would be a really good base for like a science fiction vehicle or something, all detailed up. So anyway, they come in 2 parts. So you've got a lid, and you also have a base. Okay, so this base here is to hold the wet part of the palette. The lid goes on top to keep everything wet once you've done it. And then you get moist. Yes. And then you get a bunch of inserts that go into that. And the inserts are essentially made up of kind of absorbent paper, and then you have a thin layer, like John said, of kind of wax paper. Okay. And essentially what you do is that you put the initial layer down, put the wax paper over the top of it, and then you wet the whole thing. Not flood it, but make it so that it's damp, so that it's got some water in there. And then what you do is you mix acrylic paint onto the top of the wax paper, onto this here. And because the water is seeping through, it keeps the acrylic paint wet whilst you're working on it. It can keep the acrylic paint wet as long as there's water inside the base. So you can put the lid on, mix your paints up, be painting something, mix your paints up, work on it. And then if you run out of time, go to bed or you have to go out or anything like that, just put the lid back on and your paints stay wet. They stay as they are. But what it allows you to do with figure painting is it allows you to keep mixing. So if you say you start off with a dark color, you can mix that dark color and lighten it all the way through and keep lightening it up to allow you to feather one layer of color into another. They weren't designed for model makers. They were designed for artists.
But it's all about keeping the paint workable. Patrick Power actually, Patrick does make a good point. This is dinner plate plus wet kitchen paper plus greaseproof paper equals wet palette. And Patrick, as I say, that's exactly how I made mine. It was like I say, little plastic tray, little chicken, because it's quite a nice little size.
Yeah.
foam packing in there, bit of kitchen towel on top, then the greaseproof, the wax paper, not greaseproof paper, wax paper on top of that. Then you just wet the sponge. Well, actually, you get the sponge wet first, then you put the kitchen towel on top, then you put the wax paper on top, and then you just press it down so that it's got contact and it's actually soaking through. Then that's it. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to go out and buy one, but you can make them.
I'd used smaller versions. I'd used the lids from Chinese takeaway boxes, the little plastic ones. I'd used those, but I just thought in this case I'm going to buy one so I can. So I've got a lid that'll go on top, so it's sort of purpose designed. I didn't expect it to be this big, though.
Well, show off. Mike, I tell you what I'm going to do is because I've got all the materials here to make one. I'm going to make one and literally do a Blue Peter and show you what you need, and then how you can make one, and then that's it. So we'll do that. But they are good because it just keeps the that's right, Anthony. Anthony says it's permeable paper to allow the moisture through, so it doesn't actually kind of make the paint runnier, but it's just enough to keep it in that kind of slightly fluid state.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to be putting water onto the acrylics to kind of mix it through and do all of that kind of thing. You're still going to do all of that. It just means because Vallejo will dry very quickly. If you put Vallejo onto a piece of tin foil and mix it, it'll be drying within minutes. This allows it to stay workable for far longer, which is kind of great. So it's all a bit of experimentation at the moment. It's just
Dave Fleming says you can make one from a tub, washing sponge, baking sheet, which pretty much describes some of the visual effects in season 3 of Blake 7. But there we go. Good job, actually. Season 3. Matt Irvin wasn't involved in season 3, so I can say that without any fear of recrimination whatsoever. Because obviously the season Matt was involved in was fabulous. But no, actually, I will just as an aside. I mean, I'm just partway through season 3. There's some fabulous model work in it, but there's one episode where they obviously didn't have the budget to build this kind of like base. So I'm not kidding. It's just like a watercolor painting, and it's not even a very good watercolor painting, and it's just like, ouch. I know. But yes, wet palettes. I will get around to buying one in the end. But yeah, they're easy to make, and we'll make one this week. We'll show you how to make a wet palette. Okay, we've got to harp up. We've hit the hour, but I think we'll run on a bit more. We do actually have another model to talk about this evening, another newish release which is on its way, which is it's in your neck of the woods. This because it's border model again, but it is
a Leopard 2A6
in 72nd scale.
72nd scale. Yes, this this information came out last week. This thing looks magnificent, doesn't it? Absolutely magnificent. We've had a bunch of Leopard 2s before in 72nd scale from the likes of Revell, and also Dragon have done 72nd scale Leopard 2s, but this is the latest one to come out. It does look really sensational, I have to say. In fact, we had to check, didn't we, to make sure this was 72nd scale, because it is that impressive. And yeah, looking forward to seeing this one again. I think it shows the strides that we've had over the last 5 or 10 years with 72nd scale models. We mentioned this when we were talking on Sunday about the missile launcher that you're about to
yes.
And it gives you an idea of how much detail is possible in these small packages. But also, I would imagine a lot of what you see in that photograph is molded into the whole in one piece as well. There's enough to give that kind of clue. So you're building models that are small, but they're not less detailed any more than 35th scale. In fact, some of the 72nd scale models that have been coming out recently are every bit as detailed as 35th scale models that you would have seen only a few years ago, I think.
Now, I hate to kind of like, I hate to, frankly, boost your ego any more than it needs boosting at the moment. But I do have your Leopard book.
My Leopard book.
Your Leopard book that you did, and it's a very enjoyable read. I don't actually have a massive interest in the Leopard tank. but I do have an interest in stealing other people's ideas and techniques. And going through that book, there was one of the photographs in there was of the original Italeri 35th scale Leopard 1. And I saw that photograph of that kind of white box, that classic kind of Italeri 70s white box Leopard 1. And I saw that and I thought, oh, yes.
Indeed, and actually, that model, that Leopard 1, was originally supposed to be built for the book. I actually requested it and got hold of one of those, and it's still in the loft alongside the original Leopard 1A4 that Tamiya released. I have one of those as well, the one with the big snorkel that comes out of the turret. And at some point, I thought, well, I'll build both of those, but I never got around to it for the book. Deadlines kind of crashed through, and I don't know how many I built for the book. 3, 4 was it? I think 4. So yeah, but that original Italeri Leopard's lovely, isn't it? You know, anybody that's actually seen that kit, it's really
I
nice.
just like those early Leopards. I know the later ones and things like the Mexus and everything. They've got that kind of really kind of like pugnacious modern day main battle tank look. You know, I much prefer the A6s because they've got that kind of sloped armor and they look, you know, purposeful, you know, and stealthy. I don't like the interim ones from the kind of like, you know, the mid part of the 90s with like the big kind of like slab sided turrets. I just like, oh, you know.
See, that's my favorite.
But the original
Leopard 2 is my favorite. But the
original ones with the sloping, you know, the rounded sloping armor on the turrets and everything. I love them. I think
the Leopard family is such an attractive family of vehicles as well. It really is, right across the board. Pavel's made an interesting point that we should put up. Absolutely, wet palettes are for actual water-based acrylics, Vallejo, AK Interactive, tubular acrylics, the kind of thing that would Winsor and Newton make, or Rowney or whatever. They're not for Tamiya acrylics or those kind of lacquer-based acrylics. No.
Anything that's got a kind of like solvent. I know people will go, but water's a solvent. You know what I mean? Solvent. You know, it's not going to work with that. It'll work with Life Color because Life Color is. It'll work with Life Color. It'll work with Vallejo. It'll work with Panzer Races. It'll work with Games Workshop. It'll work with, you know, all those purely water-based paints. But anything that's got that little bit of solvent, whereby I think the best way of describing it is if you brushed on a coat and then went back 10 minutes later and tried brushing another coat, if it starts lifting, you know, it's not going to work with those paints because that's too much of an aggressive solvent in there. But purely water-based ones.
Incidentally, have you ever used gouache for models in tubes?
No, for the simple reason I had an art teacher who absolutely rammed gouache down our throats, and I came to despise gouache and him. So,
so you've not used an entire family of products because of the teacher that suggested you did?
Yeah, pretty much. Not that I'm one to harbour a grudge, but
and how long has that particular grudge lasted?
90, 90, probably started.
I can't even drink my squash because that is funny. Really?
It probably started about 39 years ago, and then when I left school in 85, so that's 35 years ago. Yeah, I still haven't forgiven him for that. He was the guy, right? Yes, I know. It's just we're gonna do it. He was the guy who said to me, he said he wanted to go through and approve everybody's portfolios before they went off for their interviews to art college, you see. And I wasn't on any of that. I just thought, I'm just going to put the artwork in that I want to put in there, you see. And I said, no, I'm all right, mate. I'll be fine. Because I knew the guy who was interviewing me at art college was a big Yes fan, you see, big Roger Dean fan. So what I did was I loaded my portfolio with all these kind of paintings of kind of like islands floating in the sky and all that kind of stuff, you know, real kind of like prog rock nonsense. Got to art college, got the interview that day. Honestly, there is a sub story to this, which I'll come back to in a second. Got into the interview, about January the 20th, 1985. Started chatting, and we started kind of like showing some of the artwork, and I got him onto talking about Yes, and progressive rock and Genesis and stuff like that. We spent the next hour talking about music and albums and things. And then at the end, I said, "Oh, do you want to? You've only seen like 2 paintings in my folio. Do you want to see some more?" And he went, "Oh no, don't worry about that. You've got a place. You're in." You see. Now, most people would have to wait until the summer to know they've got a place in art college. I'd got my place in January. So the next day, I hadn't told my art teacher that I had the interview. The next day we're at school, and he says to me about, that he still wants to see my folio, and I thought I'm not going to let on. So I said to him, "No, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm fine." And he goes, "Oh well, to be honest," he says, "it's probably a waste of time. You're not going to get into art college anyway."
Wow.
And you wonder why. 35 years later,
was there some antipathy flowing around there, or was he just not a very nice person?
He just wasn't a very nice person. He had his favourites, and if you weren't one of his favourites, he just really kind of made life miserable for you. So anyway, the happy ending to that story was the day, because my dad drove me in. So whilst waiting for my dad dropped me off, waiting for my father to pick me up from the interview, I wandered into Trapnell's model shop in Weston-super-Mare, which is where the art college was.
We talked about this shop when we
Trapnell's, fabulous little model shop, and I bought there for one of my earth pounds. It was a Hasegawa 72nd scale Chaffee tank. I still have that kit unmade in the attic, because it's a memento of that day. And as we were driving back down the M5 and we got back home, and I suddenly said to my dad, "I don't like the look of those clouds." And then that was it. We suddenly had like thick snow for 2 weeks.
And you still didn't build the Chaffee?
No, because it was snowing. My workshop was outside. I wasn't going to go outside.
Oh,
But no, it's just. But anyway, long story short, we will get round to the story about how I was expelled from school, but that's another time.
The Chaffee thing brings me back to a now notorious monogram 172nd scale P51B, which you've still got, which
72nd scale one,
you haven't made. Now I was lying in bed the other night and couldn't sleep, so I drifted off trying to. I was thinking about all sorts of nonsense, but often my mind sort of turns to what we do and what we're going to talk about and all of those kind of things. And I think now I've got to that point where I've almost either built or own all of the kits that I built or loved when I was a kid. I think there are a number of, I'm talking about milestone models, ones that you remember specifically, not the usual junk that you build as a kid. And I think my entire modeling output at the moment is generated around the need. It's not even a desire anymore. It's actually a physical need to build those models that I loved when I was a kid. The only two that I'm missing are the Matchbox J29 tuner and the F5A. I think Matchbox F5A.
No, I've got both of them, and you're not having them.
And the 1/25th scale Tiger 1, the Tamiya one. That's the only kit. I think those are the only 3 that I now don't have that I want. The tuner and the F5, they'd be really easy to get hold of, I would imagine. But I don't want Reeboxes. I want an original.
No, you want originals, yeah.
I want an original box. The Tiger 1, they're out there, but they're about 125 quid.
Well, Christmas wishes do come true, because I wrote a letter. I said, "Dear Santa, can you bring back the Eshi 72nd scale Skoda tank, please? Yours, Jonathan." And Santa, he went, "Yes, of course I will." And so you never know. You could write your little note to Santa, want that 25th scale Tiger tank, it will come. Do you know what? I have a gut feeling. It's not because I haven't eaten any today, but it could be that. I have a gut feeling that actually that kit, I can see that coming back in about the next 18 months for some bizarre, mysterious reason.
I have to say that I can't conceive of being happier than if I was to finally get a chance to build that kit. properly. It is absolutely.
Let me just check the date. Let me just check the date that was released, because bear with me.
73, 74.
Well, this is what makes me wonder, because I'm just looking it up on ScaleMates. I'm just seeing. Lordy.
Might have moved slightly early. No, about that. 73, 74.
I'd say it must be coming up. It might be coming up pretty much to an anniversary release. So that's why I have a gut feeling that it might be one of those things that, you know what Tamiya are like, for kind of like celebrating their own, quite rightly celebrating their own heritage and their own history. I get the feeling that might. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Yeah. But
I also have to say, I caught some of your video the other night on the little.
Don't worry, antibiotics, it'll clear it up.
Yes, it is itching a little bit. On the little Skoda that you, I don't remember seeing you quite as excited as you are now that you have that little thing in your possession.
I see. I did actually kind of message our resident Andrew friend person, and I did say, is there any chance of getting another one of them? Because there are 4 schemes in that kit, but there are 3 schemes that are distinctly interesting to want to build 3. There's obviously, do a German one from the Polish campaign. There's that funky looking camouflage one, but there is also I think it's a Romanian one. It's got a honking great big roundel painted on the upper decking of the thing, and that's in olive green. And it's like, I don't want to give up on the experience.
Was it worth the wait? Was it worth the wait?
I was not joking when I was looking at those parts, how utterly fresh they are.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, compared to some of the reissued issue stuff that I've been building, where you can see that over time the molds have started to kind of like, they started to breathe a little. That looks like it was tooled up last week.
Yeah.
But as I said on the video, there's a reason for that. It hasn't been in production for the best part of 40 years. That
yes, those molds have been stored. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Dropped off the radar completely. Got a comment from our friend Kat. She says, your art teacher wasn't a real teacher, Jonathan. A real genuine teacher wants to enable and encourage freedom of expression, but you know that now, as you've been adulting for quite a while. I don't know about adulting, but I did also have a splendid drama teacher, David Rhys-Jones, the BBC's Bowls commentator for many decades. Still in contact with him because he's lovely and he was a real inspiration to me. Also brought on my love of Dylan Thomas. So, and Dave Fleming says, Dave is the most West Country Scotsman I know this side of Drew, actually, because he knows so much about the Southwest. It's unbelievable. Dave Fleming says, Trapnell's was a great shop. When I frequented Western-super-Mare, there were 3 model shops. There was Trapnell's, there was Western Supermodels, and there was another one just down the road from Sterling Books, which I was disappointed to find had closed down last year or the year before last. But there used to be 3. There is actually a very good there's a company online called Premium Hobbies that are based in Western-super-Mare, and they're doing a lot of mail order stuff for guns, Mr. Colour, a lot of stuff that I can't get locally from my other model shops. So I'm going to have a look on there. I might put an order with them because they look to be pretty.
So which one is the one that was round that we drove past that's round the corner from the 1940s cafe? Because there was one we drove down the side street that was like a hybrid toy shop, model shop.
I think that was Western Supermodels. I think it's just opposite the museum. The Blitz Cafe. Oh, Lordy.
Blitz Cafe, yeah.
Oh, that velvet cake. Oh.
Because the Blitz Cafe will presumably be open soon. Because I'm actually, and you need to probably put this in your diary. I will be down. I know it's miles into the future, but speed this year's going. It'll be this time next week. I'm down your neck of the woods at the end of August in that there Bristol for a few nights, because that there Elizabeth is going to that there south of England for a hen night, and I'm stopping with Mark. So
fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. If the great British public can remain sensible in the next few months and everything, we will be doing a interesting modeling company live show from the Blitz Cafe. I'll clear it with them first of all, obviously get their permission.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But that's what I want to do, is probably be during the daytime, or it might be a Saturday afternoon or whatever. But I'm gonna see if we can do a live from the Blitz Cafe. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
We're also planning to do a trip out to Newark as well, aren't we?
There will be the Newark road trip at some stage, because they're such a fabulous little museum. I've really kind of grown to love them remotely from reading their newsletters and following them on social media and everything. But fabulous little museum. So and it's got a gift shop, it's got a cafe. I'm in.
Yeah, we have talked about doing that, but I mean, if it means I need to come down to Western, obviously for a day or whatever, then we'll do that. But anybody that's down that neck of the woods, check out the Blitz Cafe, because it is brilliant, isn't it?
I'm sure we will contribute something to their collection at some stage. But
they do spectacular cakes.
Although at the moment, mate, any cafe, brilliant. Cafe.
Yes, I know. Somebody, Ivan Taylor he said, when lockdown's lifted, what are you most looking forward to? I do sense there was an element of within model making or whatever, and I put pub, football, and music in that order. And it really is that kind of thing now. We've got to that point where we've all been locked down for so long that we just want, I just want to go and watch some football. I want to go and meet some mates in a pub. I want to watch some music, just anything.
In a fantastic display of self-control, there is the tiniest possibility that if cinemas reopen in the UK in May, then one of the films that will be on at the cinema will be Godzilla vs. Kong. Now I can watch it on demand from the weekend, but something like that, you got to see it on the big screen. There's no point watching it on telly. You got to see it on the big screen. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because I think the cinema chains know it's going to be one that's going to draw people in, because it is a cinematic film. It's two great big things beating the 7 shades of brown stuff out of each other on the big screen. So fingers crossed. What I'm looking forward to is the cinema and kind of watching that nonsense.
And also, we're all starting to be kind of vaccinated now. Almost everybody that I know is halfway through. Yeah, I've been done as well. We're sort of halfway through. And they're, so we're starting to look ahead in terms of shows and all of that sort of stuff. And I think we said earlier on in the year that we didn't think the national championships were going ahead. I'm not quite as sure at the moment as I perhaps was a few months ago that that's not going to be the case. And I think we need to perhaps keep an open mind that maybe, just maybe, before the end of the year, we may find ourselves in a position where we can all get together. And I think, I think it's going to be quite an emotional thing to do. When we do all finally kind of get together as a group. You and I have met since lockdown. We've met a number of times, actually. We've obviously been together. No,
it's just the one.
No, just the one. Andy wasn't Andy's. Was that lockdown? No,
we had one work-related lockdown meeting back in the summer. That was it.
Didn't we meet up and go into Bristol?
Oh, that was before lockdown. No, that was before lockdown.
I thought that was last.
No, that was before lockdown.
So well,
that was the Blitz Cafe trip. That was back in February last year. So you remember, I picked you up in Bristol.
So that was just before. Ah, right, okay. But yeah, and I think when everybody kind of gets together, there will be I think it will be quite an emotional thing to do. But I just hope that we can sort of get when we do get together, it's like, it wasn't that crap. Let's move on and let's talk about model making and all that sort of stuff. I think it will be. It will be something. We've just got to catch up, haven't we? We've all got to get together and catch up.
It's going to be interesting, kind of like not fending people off with a 1 meter with a 2 meter long stick at the moment. Keep your distance. Get back.
I mean, frankly, for the last 12 months, I've shopped. We've shopped in. We got a Waitrose here, but we've also got Lidl and Aldi, which is where we shop. And Lidl and Aldi have been like the Wild West in where I live for the last 12 months. There has been zero, and I mean zero, social distancing in any of those shops for the last year. So the idea that I've been anywhere that has any kind of social distancing, is just extraordinary.
Top tip. Go down there first thing in the morning.
I mean,
that's what I do. I do all my shopping 8 o'clock in the morning, and there's nobody around, and it's fabulous.
Getting in there and getting out. I'm a bit like the SAS with shopping, sort of getting in and
my shopping. Welcome to lockdown. Lockdown therapy here, people. My system for I have it. I've got it down to a T. Right, it's literally straight in there. Bananas, fruit, next aisle, salad stuff, derp meat, turn the corner, tin mushrooms, 2 things of beetroot, maybe some baked beans, maybe some butter beans and whatever, eggs, next aisle, a couple of bars of chocolate, soy milk, next aisle, Linda McCartney sausages, alcohol, beers, bottle of whiskey. We're out of there.
That's all you need to do.
It is a timed military operation, and I am just.
What are you going to do when you get a chance to, because
sober up?
We meet sober up. Yeah, we've all been bladdered for the last 12 months. Going into the art shop in Bristol like we did, or going into antiques and sort of wandering around that. I think that's the thing that I've missed the most, being able to do things like that. Art shops in particular, going in and using those to trigger what I need and thinking, well, I quite fancy trying this out, but I don't know where the product is. If we hadn't have had that conversation about, for instance, we were chatting about in the art shop about distilled turpentine, weren't we? Being able to actually look at it.
Used that the other day.
It's those kind of things, and also fundamentally what we did last year with the Tamiya kits and everything, that stemmed from a conversation over a coffee with Andy Hills in Antics. That's where that started. That whole project pretty much started from that chat that we had in Antics at the beginning of last year, and I think that's what I've missed. It's that spitballing of ideas that you get that you don't really get anywhere else. You can chat online like this, but it's that enthusiasm, that constant, talking backwards and forwards and having my biscuits stolen at model shows.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And also, I mean, I kind of like one of the things that I've missed in the last couple of years is, I enjoy road trips with Andy Farmer. You see, and a couple of times a year I get the chance to travel up to the hobby company and see the chaps and chapesses there, and it's always a good drive and everything. And also just the occasion, it's about twice a year we'll have a trip down to the Tank Museum. I love the Tank Museum. I adore the Tank Museum. And just not being able to do that recently, I've kind of like, I've missed my cafes, I've missed my museums. Frankly, there are some things that I've just thought, oh, great, now that I don't have to do that, I don't miss that. So a few things like that, but we'll just have to wait and see. We will just have to wait to see what happens in the next few months as to whether. It's all very well having our opinions. Well, what does COVID think? Yeah,
I think we're going to start seeing that, the light at the end of the tunnel. And I spoke to my good friend Harris Ali last week, and we were saying about just popping up to Cosford for a coffee, because we live so close to Cosford. Cosford is 10 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
Just popping to the cafe and having a coffee. And sort of just wandering around the airplanes, going to the bookshop in the museum and doing all of those. It's those kind of things that you haven't been able to do. And now, once the museum opens, you have to sort of pre-book tickets and that kind of thing to be able to go around. It's not quite the same thing, really.
Well, it's the same. It's the same with the West Somerset Railway. Fingers crossed, will be reopening round about Mayish. but you've got to book in advance. I don't have a problem with that, book in advance. And it's the same with there's a few other places and things that are the same. So I don't have a problem with that as long as I can get out and and enjoy it and support these organisations. That's the main thing. Anthony Bird says, just want to have some mates to meet up with. Anthony, you have mates to meet up with, because we will have the interesting meetup. I think we will have the biscuit fest or something.
Trust me, you don't want to meet any of us face to face.
No, not really. No, it's better. No, we will. We'll look forward to taking the Interesting Modelling Company on the road at some stage as well, because I've got some ideas I need to speak to you about, some special secret projects that I need to talk to you about before we tell the ladies and gentlemen about them. But yeah, and yeah, Mike Williams says, I've missed our twice. I miss my teeth. I miss our twice monthly model club meetings. Yeah, but like I say, it's all not
going to last forever. We'll be back. Everybody
we will be back. So right,
and we'll still be doing this nonsense until.
Oh no, we will even when lockdown is finished. We're doing this. Yeah,
rubbish on a Wednesday night.
It's good therapy, right? It's back. Any other business?
Where did you get the bell back from? I thought I'd thrown that in the bin.
It's amazing. It's amazing what a dose of prunes and X-Lax can do.
Oh, prunes. Prunes and custard.
Lovely. Oh, lovely.
Oh, a little bit of prunes with custard. Yes. Sunday we have, I'm sure we'll come up with some bits and pieces.
Oh, there's more new kits being released. It's like a tide at the moment.
It's an absolute flood of new releases.
It is.
And then we'll be back next Wednesday to chat away. I haven't really got anything. Hopefully I'll go back to my still very tidy workbench. You got
that. You got a 5-mold Phantom and a kinetic Pucará to get on with. So chop.
Indeed.
Get a wiggle on.
Yes. So indeed, yeah. There will be. You will be able to see the results of my labours shortly. I will have some. All being well, I will have some new stuff for you to see next week.
Well, I hopefully will get this. I don't have to deliver the tractor until tomorrow evening, so it gives me a bit of time tomorrow morning just to do something with the base and a bit of foam and stuff. Actually, you're right. Because that base is a bit ridiculous. So if I get a nice big thick chunk of that grey styrofoam,
yep,
and then I can just put I might, for the sake of brevity, I think it might just be a bit of. I'm just looking at the moment. It's going to be one of those Tamiya cobble sheets or something. Just that, cut to size, spray mounted on. Then that's it. And then I can put some pins. I'll drill some pins in the wheels, epoxy them in, figure, accessory. That's it, done.
Don't go too overboard if you're delivering it tomorrow.
Oh, that's easy. That's simple stuff. Couple of hours max, hopefully. But
I have to say, I'm itching to get back to doing a diorama. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'd still like to that 1602, whatever it was, that company, that flak gun that Froome gave me to build. I still want to turn that into like a little vignette, just something really quite simple. But as you say, we've got projects piling up here. That at the moment, I seem to have kind of like whereas I had a mental block of things that were just like, I've got so much to build. Actually, it's now kind of like feels like we're actually back on lanes that are moving at the moment. So
unfortunately, my project schedule is already full until probably the end of the summer already, and that's every month. So it's adding anything else in there is proving problematic, especially my own stuff. But yeah, I know what I'm going to be building between now and then, and that does include two or three new dioramas, including the one based on the Macabre, which you can see here. which I'm hoping to get done. So yes, right. I'm going to let you go and have some food.
I've got. I'm going to listen to the end of the football. Then I'll have some food and watch the final episode of season 3 of Blake 7. Which, spoilers, that's the one where the Liberator finally gets done in.
Oh,
I know, it's because then you're season 4 and it's like the Scorpio and it's all a bit.
Scorpio's such a cool design.
It's a good ship. You know what happened was that originally season 3, the end of Blake 7, that was supposed to be the end of the series. Finn, done, everything. And apparently one of the senior controllers at the BBC was so impressed with the final episode, he said, "We must have some more.
Make some more."
So apparently the continuity announcer said something about well, that was the last in the present series of Blake 7, but Blake 7 will be back next year. To which everybody working on the program went, "What? we haven't planned to do another series of Blake." But yeah.
Well, I think we're catching on I think in the line of duty, we've got a couple of more episodes of season 4 of that to watch. I think the last couple of episodes of season 4, and then it's season 5. We're currently watching season 6, but we're sort of catching up with with a whole lot of them at the moment. And yes, and it is one of those programs where you get to a point in the program where you go, get them. You're screaming at the TV. It is just brilliant.
On that note, well, I think at some stage we will do our own we'll do a separate entertainment podcast or webcast or something with absolutely no modelling content whatsoever. So on that note, everybody, thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight. We thank you very much for your custom. Goes without saying, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we will see you all again on Sunday for our news program. So, as ever, it's good night from me, and
it's good night from him.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.